What's up guys, Asian here again with another theory crafting video, and today we're going to be taking a look at a lot of numbers as we try to figure out how buffs, or I should say debuffs, like Stagger and Draugrkin's grip work in its entirety. So for those of you guys who kind of haven't been playing ESO, you guys are just getting back into the loop, here's what we're talking about. We are talking about the Dragon Knight ability known as, or I should say the debuff known as Stagger. This is unique to these DKs, so it comes from Stone Giant, so it's basically a stacking debuff, and with each stack that you apply, it increases the damage taken by a flat amount, in this case 65, for each of the stacks, up to 3 stacks. So a total of an extra 195 damage raw. So in terms of the tooltip, it would say 3 stacks of Stagger increases damage taken by 169, or 195. But the question is, are you getting the full 195? What is it affected by? And so on and so forth. There's also a set in the game that also operates under a similar condition, if not the identical condition, and that is a set known as Draugrkin's Grip. As you can see here, cursed enemies take 617 extra damage from all of your damage abilities. It's worded a little bit differently from Stagger. Stagger is increased damage taken by 65 per stack. This just says takes 617 extra damage, but they both are functionally the same thing. You're just taking some extra damage and applying it to whoever happens to have the debuff, Draugrkin debuff or the Stagger debuff. So the question is, what are these numbers affected by? Does penetration matter? Does damage modifiers like damage done, damage taken matter? Do crit damage modifiers, crit damage, do those matter? So we're going to be taking a look at pretty much all these different scenarios here. I did quite a few tests here in order to kind of figure things out. So I actually did not use the trial dummy here because that gives me all the buffs, which we don't really want for this sort of test. We want to selectively activate one buff at a time. So, for damage done, we want to activate Minor Berserk. We want to be able to selectively work on just Minor Berserk. So everything else remains exactly the same. So the trial dummy, we're not able to just switch on and off Minor Berserk. So we actually had to go ahead and use your standard 3 million dummy instead. So for the damage done modifier, I used Minor Berserk, and I got that through Camouflaged Hunter. For the damage taken debuff, I actually wore Martial Knowledge and used that. That was a little bit tricky to get to proc on a DK, but did manage to do it. So we used Martial Knowledge. That is an 8% damage taken debuff. For penetration, that's just simple math. I ended up just doing straight math to kind of figure out penetration. And then the interesting question was, what happens if you have both Stagger and Draugrkin's Grip? You're never going to have that happen because Stone Giant, I should say, it's not that you will never have it happen, but it's probably not very common to see it happen. But it's still a possibility. So the question is, of course, does the extra damage from both of them stack on top of each other, or is it just sort of like additive? You get the 195 plus the 617, add them together, and that's the extra damage that you get. Or is the 195 on top of the 617, and then you also get the extra 195. But if you do that, then you can also argue the other way around. So a little bit weird interaction possibility there. But let's go ahead and get started with the numbers. So all these are going to be in combat metrics, and we will be using taking a look at things as we go along. So first, taking a look at the combat log here. This is what we're using to kind of figure things out. So the first thing you'll notice is that we make sure we always have Minor Brutality, and we get Minor Slayer from wearing a set, so just go with that. So this is with the Stagger debuff. You can see here we have 3 Stone Giants, and the one we're going to take a look at right now is going to be Arms of Reliquin. This should give us a good idea of how the damage is being affected. Because Arms of Reliquin, as a proc set, 1, it can't crit, and 2, it is affected by penetration. So this particular test was just taking a look at how penetration works with the Stagger debuff. So we have 294 here with the ideal Arms of Reliquin with 3 Stagger debuffs. Let's go ahead and mark that down here on our calculator. So we have 290, what was it? 294. Alright, so then what we need is no Stagger debuffs. That's actually the next part. So we still have the Minor Brutality, but that doesn't really matter because it's Arms of Reliquin. It isn't affected by any sort of weapon damage mods. So 165. So if we go back here, we want to take that difference. 165. 129 which is less than the 195. So remember, with 3 full stacks, we should be getting 195 extra damage. So what's going on here? So when I first saw these results, first we're going to take a look at penetration. So we have physical penetration is equal to 1376. This is the 3 million dummy, so we have the full 18,200 resistances. So what does that equal to in terms of actual mitigation that we're getting? So the formula we're using is 100 minus the 18,200 minus the penetration that we do have. That's all divided by 500, because the target dummy has a hidden level of level 50. So that is equal to mitigation of 66.35, so that's how much damage we're actually doing. So if we go ahead and convert that into a decimal, so basically move the decimal point over to the left 2 spots, and we basically multiply the 195 from the 3 stacks of stagger, and multiply it by this value. So it would be 0.66352. Would you look at that? 129.3864. So if we take off everything to the right of the decimal place, we're left with 129, which is exactly how much we get bonus by. So this means that the stagger debuff is affected by penetration, and we can double check this by taking a look at light attack as well. So we critically hit with our light attack for 4206 without stagger, and we see critically hit for 4425 with stagger. So go back here, 4425 minus 4206, 219. So what's happening here? Where this is greater than the 129. Perhaps crit damage is being affected. If we go back and take a look at our crit damage modifier, we have a crit damage modifier of 69%. Heh 69. Okay, jokes aside, this means that let's go ahead and take a look at our 129, and let's say we multiply it by that crit damage. So your normal crit modifier is 1.5, 50% additional damage. But here it's additional 69% additional damage, so we multiply it by 1.69. 218.01. So we're 1 short of the 219, but it's close enough that we can probably say there's some internal rounding going on in behind the scenes, server-side math basically, which is accounting for that 1 damage difference. So based on this result, we can also say that the stagger debuff is also affected by critical damage modifier. If you happen to crit, you will get the additional crit damage modifier on top of the 195 onto stagger. And because we figured this out for stagger, it is reasonable to say that this is likely going to happen for Draugrkin as well. So that's 2 things that we've knocked out. We've knocked out penetration, how that affects it, and we've also knocked out how crit damage modifier affects this. Next we take a look at damage done and damage taken. So this next buff parts here is with Minor Berserk. You can see we have Minor Berserk, and again we're going to take a look at Arms of Draugrkin, because Arms of Draugrkin is going to be consistent here. So we get the Minor Berserk, we have 305 as our damage from Ideal Arms of Draugrkin with 3 stacks of stagger. Again, you can see 3 stone giants. This next one, still have the Minor Berserk, but this is without stone giant, 175. Let's go back, take a look at these values here again, 305. So we have 305. Then our value here, without the stagger debuff, is 175. Here, 175, 130. Again, there's probably some internal rounding stuff that's going on, so we're taking a look at the 129 here. So doesn't seem like damage done is affecting our stagger debuff. So we're still getting about 129, which is what we got before we had Minor Berserk. But we can double check this by taking a look at our light attack damage as well. So without the stagger, 4534. With the stagger, 4752. Let's go ahead and take a look at those numbers again. 4752. And we had over here 4534. Now again, if Minor Berserk is not affecting this, then we should be seeing an increase of 219 or so. 218. Again, probably some rounding errors in the server side that's not being reflected here. So, doesn't look like Minor Berserk affects the stagger buff damage that we're getting. So damage done modifiers, they don't seem to be affecting the extra damage we're getting from Stagger or Draugrkin. What about damage taken? That's going to be different. So the first thing that we establish here is going to be this. Is this the damage taken? No, this is not damage taken. Let's see here. Here's the damage taken because you see all the dodging that I did here. So here we have, let's turn on, oh maybe we forgot to turn that off. Okay. Here we are. So we gained the martial knowledge. So basically we applied martial knowledge to the target dummy here. And so let's go ahead and take a look. This is, we don't have any Stone Giant here. So I did cast Stone Giant probably just to get the Minor Brutality here. So let's take a look at our Arms of Reliquin. So we get 171 without Stagger. That's what it looks like. Alright. Then let's see what the next one is. So this is going to be with 3 stacks of Stagger. So 1, 2, 3. Gain the martial knowledge. Arms of Reliquin hit for 311. So 171. 311. Let's take a look. 140. That's a little bit of an increase compared to the 129 that we should be expecting if nothing were to happen. So Wave Martial Knowledge is an 8% increase in damage taken. So we don't have any other damage taken modifiers here. So we should just be able to multiply it straight by 1.08. 139.32. Again, probably some rounding errors happening behind the scenes on the server side of things, which is accounting for that one difference. But it does seem like damage taken is affecting the stagger damage. Let's see if there's another way that we can double check ourselves. Let's take a look at our light attacks like we always have been. Gain martial knowledge, so we want to take a look at light attacks. We have a normal light attack here for 2321. Take a look here. We have a, let's see if we have any other sort of light attacks here. See, 2020, is that correct? Let's see here. Critical hit. Okay, here's one. 21,682. Just wanted to double check because this 2020 might not actually have the additional damage. So 2182. And where is this one? 2321. So we have 2321 minus our, where was it? It was down here, I believe. 2182. Again, if it's not being affected by damage taken, then we should see an increase of 219. Actually, did I take the right one? Oh no. Oh, I lied. We should see an increase of 129 because the 219 is with the crit. The 139 is our increase, which is, again, identical here. What we should expect to see, because, again, this is all affected by penetration, so this is not a crit, so we're not getting the crit damage modifier either, so we should just see the increase of 129, but instead we see an increase of 139, which is reflective of the 129 being affected by the martial knowledge buff. So, again, our conclusion remains the same. It seems like damage taken, debuff, does affect the stagger damage. So currently we are at affected by penetration, crit damage modifier, and damage taken debuffs. It's not affected by damage done modifiers. But the last test we want to check out, and this is the kind of interesting test here, is how does stagger work with Draugrkin? These are both identical buffs. So we have Draugrkin's grip here, and we have Stone Giants. We have 3 Stone Giants. We have Draugrkin's grip. Our light attacks are hitting for 2281. And if we just get normal light attacks without stagger at all, we get 1742. So let's see here. We have 2281 minus 1742, 539. So the only difference here is the stagger, I believe. So let's see here, 2281 compared to, oh, this might be without the Draugrkin. Let's see if you can find one with the Draugrkin. Here, 2152. That's the correct value we want to use. So go back up here. 2152. 129. So it doesn't seem like they're stacking on each other. So it's not like you're getting double dipping into the stagger debuff. You're still only getting that one stagger debuff. So it does seem like they're additive with each other. So you're getting the Draugrkin's grip, and then you're getting the stagger debuff on top of that. And so that pretty much covers all the different possible scenarios. I guess the only other thing that we can possibly test would be things like CPs. But because this is just damage that's added on, it doesn't seem like it should be affected. So just to double check, I took out all my CPs here. So this is no CPs whatsoever. We only have 100 in the Shattering Blows to maintain our 10% additional max magicka, or 20% additional max magicka from having 100 points into blue CP. So we kept our spell penetration exactly the same. So 11 spell pen here. So let's see here what our damage value is here. Our damage value is 2372 with Draugrkin. Then here, I believe I added in 100 into Elemental Expert. So we should see 15% increase damage. Oops, wrong button. Which this? Okay, so it's this one, 1372, and 2631. So let's take a look at this one, 2372, and multiply it by 1.15, 2727. So 2631. There might be some interesting interactions here, actually. So 2631 minus, okay, this would be 3272. Oh, all right. Let's see, 631. 259. So if you take a look at 259 over 2372. About 11% increase, unless we want to do it over the larger value here. No, it should be under the smaller value. But it does seem like we're not getting the full value of our 15% additional damage here from our CPs. Might be just some interesting work going on here, but yeah, a little bit interesting here. But we're still getting Draugrkin's grip, so it shouldn't be affected by anything like that. All of our stats are exactly the same. So it might just be some sort of interesting value here. Let's see here, 3153, 3590. This is just for Thornus here. 3590 minus 3153, or I should say over 3153. Okay, 1.13.85. So there might be some weirdness going on with modifiers. Let's see here, 2630. Oops, 2631 over 2372. Yeah, there might be some weirdness going on here with all the different modifiers going on, but it doesn't seem like Draugrkin's grip, at the very least, is being affected by this, because if it was, we should be seeing much larger values, larger than the 15%, I should say 10% that we're seeing here. So it doesn't seem like any sort of additional CPs are affecting Draugrkin's grip, so we can probably say the same thing with Stagger. So basically what we've concluded here is that the Stagger debuff and Draugrkin's grip debuff, those are affected by penetration, damage taken, and crit damage if you happen to crit. It is not affected by other CP buffs, each other, so they're not like double dipping into each other, and they're not affected by damage done modifiers. So hopefully that sort of clears up the Stagger debuff and the Draugrkin's grip. I'd imagine we're going to see new sets that introduce the same sort of mechanic where you have just flat increases to damage. So it's nice to know exactly what is affecting all that extra damage there. But that concludes this video. In the description below, I do have a summary of what we covered here, so make sure to check that out if you guys want the quick and dirty. But that's going to be it for this video. Hope you guys found this informative, and I'll see you guys in the next dungeon.